Never underestimate a public school teacher. Right, you've probably heard that one before. Seems simple enough. But today we're going on a deep dive. That might just change how you think about those words. We're looking at some snippets in a letter, and trust me, the journey from these pieces to that quote, it's going to surprise you.
What's really fascinating here is how these seemingly unrelated pieces connect to a figure you might not expect. Rod Serling, the creator of The Twilight Zone.
That's right, Rod Serling. You know, for those of us who haven't taken a trip into the Twilight Zone just yet, can you give us a quick overview of what made this show and Serling himself so iconic?
Well, Rod Serling, he was a master at weaving suspense, thought-provoking twists, and that signature dash of the eerie or surreal into every single episode. But The Twilight Zone, it was much more than just sci-fi. You see, it was really a platform for Serling to explore themes of morality, humanity, and the sometimes unsettling consequences of our choices.
So we have this master of science fiction crafting these tales of the fantastical. And yet his work was deeply influenced by a real-life, down-to-earth high school teacher, Helen Foley. Not exactly the connection you'd expect, is it?
It's certainly unexpected. And even more intriguing is how Serling chose to pay tribute to Foley. He actually incorporated her name into his work. One striking example is in the 1983 Twilight Zone, the movie. In the segment, It's a Good Life, actress Kathleen Quinlan plays a character named Helen Foley, schoolteacher, who encounters a boy with some rather disturbing abilities.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. It wasn't just a one-time thing. Serling sprinkled these little Twilight Zone Easter eggs throughout his work, subtle nods to Helen Foley that you'd only catch if you knew the connection. It's like a secret code for those in the know.
Precisely. It adds a whole new layer of appreciation. For those who discover these hidden gems, take the episode Walking Distance from Season 1, for example. Now, Helen Foley isn't explicitly named in this one, but the story revolves around a man returning to his childhood home, a place that strongly resembles Serling's own hometown of Binghamton, New York, where he was taught by Foley.
So even without directly mentioning her, her presence is woven into the story. You're telling me there are more of these hidden tributes?
There are. And in the Season 1 episode, Nightmare as a Child, the connection is even more direct. This episode actually features a character named Helen Foley, a schoolteacher who becomes entangled with a young girl, who seemed to know more about her past than she should. What makes this episode particularly compelling, knowing the backstory, is that Serling deliberately chose to use Foley's name, imbuing the story with an extra layer of meaning.
Wow, imagine being a fan of The Twilight Zone and then realizing there's this whole other level to the storytelling, these hidden tributes that add to the mystery and intrigue. Did Serling ever talk about why he chose to honor Helen Foley in this way?
While Serling didn't explicitly lay out his reasons, we can look at the themes he explored in The Twilight Zone, particularly in those episodes connected to Foley, to get a sense of her potential influence.
Okay, so let's dive into that a bit. Walking Distance, for example, explores themes of nostalgia, the passage of time, and the struggle to recapture the past. Would you say those resonate with the idea of a teacher's lasting impact?
Absolutely. Think about it. Teachers are often the ones who help shape our early perceptions of the world, who instill in us a sense of wonder and curiosity. The impact of those formative years, those lessons learned, they can stay with us long after we've left the classroom. In Walking Distance, the main character, Martin Sloan, he's yearning for a simpler time, a return to his childhood, a time when things felt safe and familiar. He literally walks back into his past, only to find that he can't truly recapture it.
You've got me thinking. Could that be Serling reflecting on his own journey, perhaps missing the guidance and clarity of his youth, symbolized by Helen Foley?
It's certainly a compelling interpretation. And there's a particularly poignant scene where Martin encounters his younger self, and he tries to warn the boy about the disappointments that lie ahead in adulthood.
So in a way, Martin's journey back to his childhood could be seen as a metaphorical return to that sense of security and inspiration that a teacher like Helen Foley provided.
And perhaps even a recognition of how those early influences continue to shape who we become, even as we navigate the complexities of adulthood.
Now, you mentioned Nightmare as a Child also features a Helen Foley character. What kind of insights can we gain from that episode?
Nightmare as a Child delves into themes of fear, trauma, and the lingering effects of the past. The Helen Foley in this episode is a young woman haunted by a childhood tragedy, a repressed memory that threatens to unravel her present life.
That's interesting, because it seems to shift the focus from the teacher as a source of inspiration to a more complex portrayal of someone grappling with their own demons. Does this challenge the idea of a teacher as a flawless mentor?
Not necessarily. Instead, it adds a layer of human complexity to the image of a teacher. Remember, teachers are individuals with their own experiences, their own vulnerabilities. This episode could be seen as Serling acknowledging that even those who guide and inspire us are also on their own journeys, facing their own internal struggles.
It humanizes the figure of the teacher, reminding us that they're not infallible beings, but individuals who can be shaped by life's challenges just like anyone else, and yet they still manage to make a profound impact on their students.
Exactly. It's a testament to their strength and dedication that they can guide and inspire others, even while navigating their own personal complexities.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of person was Helen Foley, that she would leave such a lasting impression on someone like Rod Serling? Luckily, we have a piece of the puzzle that might give us some insight. A heartfelt letter written by Helen Foley herself. It was written in 1979 to the parents of a student named Anthony, who was in her speech class.
What makes this letter particularly poignant is knowing that Anthony was actually Helen Foley's last student before her retirement. It offers a glimpse into her character and teaching philosophy at the very end of her career.
That's incredible. We're getting a peek into the heart of the woman who influenced Rod Serling. Would you mind reading an excerpt from the letter? I'm curious to hear what she had to say about her student.
Of course. In her letter to Anthony's parents, Helen Foley wrote, "You probably are well aware that your son is courteous, intelligent, and interested in school. He is an unusual boy in his attitude, his helpfulness, and his shy, quiet confidence. He wants to learn. You must be proud of him. He reflects a wonderful bringing up."
Wow, you can almost hear the warmth and genuine care in her words. This wasn't just a teacher going through the motions. She truly saw something special in Anthony and took the time to acknowledge and encourage it. This really embodies what it means to never underestimate a public school teacher, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. This letter exemplifies the profound impact the teacher can have, not just on a student's academic development, but on their character, their confidence, their belief in themselves. And in this case, it was Helen Foley's final act as an educator, leaving a legacy of encouragement and belief in her very last student.
It gives you chills thinking about that, her last student, and she writes this heartfelt letter recognizing his potential. What strikes you about her choice of words in describing Anthony? What does it reveal about her approach to teaching?
What stands out to me is how she highlights not only his intelligence, but also his character, his courtesy, helpfulness, and quiet confidence. She recognizes that these qualities are just as important as academic achievement. It suggests that she saw her role as more than just imparting knowledge. She was fostering the development of well-rounded individuals.
That resonates with what we were discussing earlier about Serling's work. He wasn't just interested in telling fantastical stories, he was exploring human nature, morality, the complexities of good and evil. It makes you wonder if Foley's emphasis on character and values might have influenced Serling's approach to storytelling.
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
Imagine being a young Rod Serling in Helen Foley's class, absorbing those lessons about the importance of character, integrity, and empathy. It's not hard to see how those values could have shaped his worldview and found their way into the moral dilemmas he presented in The Twilight Zone.
And those subtle Twilight Zone tributes to Foley suddenly take on a whole new meaning. They become more than just Easter eggs for fans to uncover. They're a testament to the profound impact she had on him, both as a writer and as a person.
Exactly. Those tributes serve as a reminder that a teacher's influence can extend far beyond the classroom, shaping the creative output, the values, and the very essence of who their students become.
It also highlights the importance of recognizing and appreciating the contributions of teachers. They're often the unsung heroes who work tirelessly to nurture potential, inspire creativity, and instill a love of learning in their students.
And their impact isn't always immediately apparent. Like seeds planted in fertile ground, the lessons they impart can take root and blossom years later, influencing the trajectory of their students' lives in ways they may never fully comprehend.
We may never know the full extent of Helen Foley's influence on Anthony, but her letter serves as a powerful reminder that even the smallest gestures of encouragement and belief can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond the classroom.
It also underscores the fact that teachers are not simply dispensers of information. They're mentors, guides, and often the first people to recognize and nurture the unique talents and potential within each student.
And those students, armed with the knowledge, skills, and confidence instilled by their teachers, go on to shape the world around us in countless ways. Think about the doctors who heal us, the engineers who build our cities, the artists who inspire us, the entrepreneurs who create jobs and drive innovation. Their journeys often began in a classroom guided by the steady hand of a dedicated teacher.
It's a testament to the power of education and the often underestimated role that teachers play in shaping the course of human progress.
Speaking of shaping the course of human progress, this brings us back to the quote we started with: never underestimate a public school teacher. Tim Walz, the future Vice President of the United States, said those words. We don't have the full context of his statement, but it's safe to say, given his background in education, he understood the profound influence a teacher can have.
Absolutely. And considering the story we've been exploring, those words resonate even more deeply. We've seen how one teacher, Helen Foley, not only shaped the life of a future cultural icon like Rod Serling, but also left a lasting legacy of encouragement and belief in her final student, Anthony.
It makes you wonder about all the other Helen Foleys out there quietly shaping the minds and hearts of future artists, thinkers, and leaders. What potential ripple effects do you think those teachers have on the world through their students?
It's a truly humbling thought.
Yeah.
Every day in classrooms across the globe, teachers are igniting sparks of curiosity, nurturing creativity, and empowering their students to make a difference in the world. And like those hidden Twilight Zone tributes to Helen Foley, their influence may not always be immediately apparent, but it's woven into the fabric of our society, shaping the very essence of who we are.
It's like a hidden network of inspiration and influence connecting us all through the shared experience of learning and growth. And it all starts with a teacher who believes in their students, who sees their potential, and who encourages them to reach for the stars.
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate that impact, the impact teachers have on shaping the world around us.
It does, yeah. It's like a ripple effect. Starting in the classroom and expanding outward, touching lives in ways we might never fully grasp. And as we saw with Rod Serling, those ripples can even manifest in unexpected ways, like those subtle tributes to Helen Foley woven into his work, a testament to those deep and lasting connections, the kind of connections teachers can forge with their students.
It also speaks to the power of storytelling and how it can be used to honor those who have inspired us. If you think about it, the Twilight Zone itself, it's a testament to the power of imagination, the ability to explore complex themes through those compelling narratives. Perhaps that's something that Serling learned from Helen Foley, in those early days in her classroom.
Yeah, maybe she encouraged him to think outside the box, to challenge those conventional narratives, explore the what-ifs and the whys, the things that lie beneath the surface. It's fascinating to consider how a teacher's guidance can spark that creative fire, in a student, leading them to become the storytellers, the innovators, the change makers of their generation.
And it's a reminder that we all have the potential to be those change makers. We all have stories to tell, experiences to share, and lessons to impart. And perhaps we too can find ways to honor those who have inspired us, those who have helped us to find our voices, to navigate the complexities of the world.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like passing the torch of inspiration from one generation to the next, ensuring that those sparks of creativity and knowledge continue to illuminate the world.
And who knows? Maybe some of those sparks will ignite into full-blown flames, leading to groundbreaking discoveries, life-changing innovations, or even just acts of kindness and compassion that make the world a little bit brighter.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, this look into the unexpected connection between Rod Serling, Helen Foley, and this enduring impact of teachers, I'm left with this renewed sense of appreciation, for the power of education, the importance of mentorship, and the profound ways in which our lives are interconnected.
It's a reminder that even seemingly simple phrases like "never underestimate a public school teacher" can hold layers of meaning and depth. And it challenges us to think about the ripple effects of our own actions, the ways in which we might be inspiring others, and the potential we all have to make a positive impact on the world.
It's a thought-provoking journey for sure, and one that leaves me with a sense of hope, knowing that there are countless Helen Foleys out there quietly shaping the future, one student at a time.
And perhaps it encourages all of us to reflect on the teachers who have touched our lives, and to consider how we might pass on that torch of inspiration to future generations.
Because you never know. A simple word of encouragement, a moment of shared passion, or a spark of belief, it can ignite a fire that burns brightly for a lifetime.